Thank you, Madam Speaker. Now, the budget is delayed again this year, and Albertans are wondering why, in this very difficult time, the government is waiting to release its plan. Now, maybe they don't want to hurt their chances in the Greenway by-election. Perhaps they're waiting for the federal budget, or maybe it's because they don't want to embarrass their federal cousins at the National NDP Convention to be held here in Edmonton the weekend of April 8th. Now, given last year's budget was delayed to boost the federal ND's election chances, I think we know why this budget's delayed. To the Premier, will you commit to moving up the release of the budget so Albertans know how your government plans to address the fiscal crisis?
Convention? Are you kidding?
Honourable Premier. Thank you, Madam Speaker. My Minister of Finance has indicated that the budget will be introduced on April 14th, and that's when it will be introduced. But I think it's really important to understand that 8 of the last 14 years, the budget has been introduced and passed after March 30th. So that's quite common. It's not an uncommon timing for it to be done this way, particularly because the federal budget was put back by a week, and so we need to get a sense of what's happening there before we finalize the numbers.
Thank you. Well, no budget means no solutions. Albertans are hurting and looking for solutions. Well, I happen to have some solutions, and so do our neighbours in Saskatchewan. Premier Brad Wall suggested that tackling the orphan well problem is a great way to get people back to work and very quickly while solving a big environmental problem. Now, currently, Alberta has a backlog of orphan wells that no longer have an owner but still need to be reclaimed. To the Premier, will you add to the Orphan Well Fund to get Albertans with oilfield experience back to work while solving a big environmental problem for our province?
Thank you, Madam Speaker, and thank you to the member for that question. You know, it is interesting, and to be honest, I think there is some merit, personally, to the proposal that was put forward by Premier Wall on that issue. The first thing that, of course, we need to be very, very clear about is that we have a strict polluter pay policy in Alberta, and we do not want to be subsidizing or somehow watering that down. That being said, we also know that there are a number of abandoned wells where there really is no polluter left, unfortunately, and it may well be the case that in terms of immediate infrastructure investment and immediate ability to get people back to work, that this is something worthy of consideration.
Thank you for that answer, Madam Premier. That's an encouraging answer, and I hope you follow through on that. Now, you talked about industry's responsibility to reclaim wells, but the fees already charged burden many producers, especially smaller producers. Now, there are about 705 orphan wells in Alberta, but the Orphan Well Fund only has enough money to reclaim about 40 every year, which means it will take nearly 20 years to clear that backlog. And unfortunately, because of the downturn, the total number of orphan wells is likely to go up. Now, to the Premier again, will you commit to a 4-year plan to clear the backlog of orphan wells while service costs are low, fixing the problem and getting Albertans back to work?
Honourable Premier. Thank you, Madam Speaker. There's no question that this is a very important issue. It's one that it's a liability, quite frankly, that has accrued over decades and decades of neglect and inaction. And it's probably not something that can be cleaned up in 4 years, specifically given the current fiscal restraints that we're operating under. But we're very aware that it's a critically important issue. The AER is working with oil and gas producers on this issue. We've asked for advice on it, and we hope to be able to make some important steps forward in the near future.